Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luiz Morales. I'm here with the Jose Luiz Morales Show. This is episode number 18. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Franz Froehlich. He works for Saber Foundation. For those of you guys that don't know, they do foundation repairs. And basically, they're your go-to people whenever something is wrong with the foundation of a property. So welcome to the show, Franz. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And yourself?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I wanted to bring you on the show, Franz, is I've had a couple of clients. There's certain areas in Ventura County that are known to have foundation issues. And a lot of times, at least for first-time home buyers, I had a client that bought a house with another agent, and she wasn't aware that her property had foundation issues. So when it came time to selling the property, that's where everything came up. So my philosophy is to try to educate the real estate community so that they can make better real estate decisions. And I felt that maybe if her agent would have coached her a little bit, or maybe had you guys out there to do an inspection, maybe she would have made a lot more money. And in this case, she actually ended up selling it at less than what she bought it for because of the foundation issues. So to be honest, that's what triggered me wanting to do this episode, and I'm very thankful for you agreeing to be on here.
Sure, I understand your concerns, and I'm happy to be here.
Sounds great, great. So I'll start off with the first question. So for those people that don't know what a foundation is, what is the foundation as it pertains to a house?
Sure, a home foundation is the structural system that bridges the gap between the soil and the framing of the home. So it is designed, not only to carry the loads from the structural element of the home, but more important, it's designed to work with the existing soils to bear the weight of the home. And there's many soil types, so we have different types of foundation design as well.
Okay, so the foundation is essentially where the house sits. It's pretty much the base of the property.
Not only is it the base, but it has to interact with both the structural loads and the soil. That's why I say it's a system that bridges that gap.
Essentially, great. Okay, and what are some of the different types of foundations that different properties have? I know that I think back in the day there was raised foundation versus slab foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences? Maybe how it has evolved to where it is now, and how it pertains to soil as well too.
Sure, no problem. Like you said, the most common foundations here in Southern California that are being built now are slab on grade, and around the 60s it was raised foundations. A slab on grade is poured directly onto the soil with a perimeter turned down footing. It's a very shallow footing. We don't have much frost here. We don't have frost issues, so we're able to build a slab on grade. Some common problems may be moisture trapped under the slab and the slab heaving. It's also more economical to build than older raised foundations. Raised foundations do come with its own problems, and one may be some lack of seismic strengthening or seismic support in an earthquake event.
Okay, so essentially the slab would be a little bit stronger in case of an earthquake as comparison to the raised foundation?
Well, the way we have designed slabs nowadays, we've put in items, structural elements to take the lateral loading. And back when the raised foundations were constructed, there wasn't so much concern about seismic events. However, those older raised foundations can definitely be upgraded to today's standards.
Nice, great. Okay, and what are some of the problems that come up with foundations? What are some of the problems that come up with foundations?
Sure. One problem with raised foundations, like we just spoke about, is the lack of bolting and bracing the foundation to the framing of the structure, allowing lateral shifting of the home during an earthquake. And to resolve that, not a big issue, and an older home just should be seismic retrofitted. Now, another more severe problem, which can happen to either type of foundation, is actually an issue with the underlying soils. A foundation should be designed according to the soil type it's sitting on. And even then, the soil conditions can change with seasonal moisture or ground settlement. And if there was either a design error or a change in the soil conditions that occur, eventually a foundation will fail, shift, and most likely settle. So, and lastly would be very old or poorly constructed foundations, such that are built out of brick, hollow block, or cobbles. And along with old weak concrete, these foundations may have reached their time span and need to be replaced.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. So the part that I didn't know is that the soil changes, and essentially what may be right today could be different in the future as well too.
That, yes, 100%. And a moisture content in the soil has a lot to do with that, and so does just the time that the soil's sitting there.
Interesting. Okay. And what is the most common reason, would you say, that at least for Ventura County, that properties here have foundation issues?
Well, the most common reason, like we just spoke about, would be the weak soils causing foundation failure. If you had strong soil sitting underneath the home, the foundation would be rigid and stiff. But if you have weak soils, or soils that once were strong and became weak, the home sitting on the poor soils cannot bear the weight of the structure, and you'll have differential settlement.
Okay. And for example, like if I'm a first time home buyer, if I'm a buyer and I'm doing a walkthrough of the property, what are some of the different clues that I can that will be out there to maybe give me a heads up that a property may have potential foundation issues, and that I should consider maybe doing a foundation inspection?
You know, that is a great question, and something that anybody doing a walk around through a home can definitely start looking for these items. Mm-hmm. So the clues to foundation settlement are drywall cracks, usually at the corners of doors and windows. And then, you know, looking at the doors and windows, see if they operate smoothly or sticking, or if they're crooked in their frames. Something that's not quite as easy to see is look for any sloping floors. Maybe bring a marble or a golf ball and roll it on the floor. And then you can look at the chimney to see if it has rotated back away from the home. That is very common. Now, from the outside of the home, walking around, you want to look again at the stucco cracks, both horizontal, vertical, and coming away from square windows and doors, and especially looking for a horizontal crack right at the separation between the footing and the framing. You'll see that horizontal crack often with settlement.
Nice.
Now, let's also look at an older foundation like a crawl space. Mm-hmm. You'd want to crawl underneath into the crawl space and look for proper bolting. It'll be bolts through the wood, attaching the wood framing onto the stem wall. And also you want to take a look at the cripple wall for proper bracing.
Okay, and I'm going to go back to a question that I had earlier, and you talked about retrofitting for maybe some of the older foundations. What does that process look like?
The majority of the work is attaching the sill plate to the foundation with what we call a UFP bracket that is screwed into the wood framing and then bolted into the concrete stem wall. Depending the height of the cripple wall, there may be some plywood shear panel attached, and then we have some various bracketing or corner brackets, and then we can also look at your pier and beam system to see what type of attachments are located there. Yeah, and upgraded.
And then one more question, because I mean, I don't want to like scare buyers, because I walk through properties all the time, and I see like out on the outside of a stucco, you see like little cracks sometimes. Is there something that most properties have some sort of crack in the cement, right? Like some sort of like little is there like if the crack is bigger than maybe a quarter, should they be concerned, or is there a certain size of the crack, or should all cracks be concerning to?
Okay. Another great question. Materials such as stucco and concrete, they're not pliable. They're very rigid, so they crack. So one crack is not going to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Even sometimes multiple small cracks don't tell a story. Sometimes the story is maybe stucco dried too rapidly, maybe a baseball hit it. So we look at various things. Do we have a crack and the window sticking, or we have a crack and the door's not plumb in the frame anymore? And what we do is perform a floor level survey with a digital water level, and we take elevation readings and see if there's a trend of settlement. So now we can start taking all the cracks into account, the doors, window, ball roll test, or elevation reading, and then through all those pieces, we can find if a foundation has been settling or not. But one crack is nothing to alert anybody about.
Sounds good. I just didn't want to go ahead and have everybody thinking their property has foundation issues. Now, we talked a little bit about retrofitting for older foundations. What about for newer foundations? What are some of the different options that a homeowner can do if their property does have foundation issues?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So, for example, we talked about retrofitting older foundations as a solution, or bracing them as a solution for foundation problems. Or I don't know if that was a solution, but as an option. What are the different solutions for fixing foundation problems? In other words, to make it shorter.
Sure. Well, I guess what problem are we having? So the best solution for a settling foundation that is both cost effective and by design eliminates the soil as the problem is installing like push piers under the foundation. And it's a steel pier that is pushed deep through the problem soils down into bedrock, and a bracket is placed on the foundation holding the home from any further settlement, but also we could lift to raise that. Now, if you have a foundation that just a very old foundation made with block brick and it's falling and crumbling, a sister footing can be added next to it for support, or sometimes a complete replacement may be needed.
Okay, great. That's great. Yeah, I think I saw on your guys' website like a little video of some sort of foam, like it looked like it was some sort of foam that raises the foundation, or basically lifts that up.
Well, not really. We can go through that. That foam that you saw on the website is pumped under concrete slabs, patio decks, pool decks that can support the deck and lift the deck back up to its original level. When it comes to a home foundation, we want a pier that actually connects to the footing down into bedrock, that it stabilizes the house from any further movement.
So something essentially a little bit stronger.
Yes, and what we will use the polyurethane or poly level for is once we lift a slab on grade home, a void is created between the bottom of the slab and the top of the soil. That poly level is injected underneath a slab on grade foundation to fill that void after lifting.
Sounds great. Great. Now, I know when I first thought about foundation problems, people associate obviously a lot of money to problems with foundation. What are the different ranges for your typical house? Like maybe like a 1,400 square foot single story. Like, what does it cost to essentially fix foundation problems, or what can somebody be looking to spend roughly? I mean, not exact numbers, but just some kind of estimate.
Sure, I understand. Naturally, home size, area of home affected, and specific site conditions all play a role in determining actual cost, but I can help you out a bit. So typical foundation settlement repairs for an average home will be in the ballpark between $18,000 and $25,000. A seismic retrofit on an older crawl space home will be in the ballpark of $3,000 to $5,000, and that repair will take about 2 days. And a complete foundation repair, unfortunately, it'd be more in the realm of $75,000 to $100,000.
Wow! And when you say a complete foundation repair, like what does that mean?
I guess a better term would be complete foundation removal and replacement. So basically, if your home is, let's say, built about 100 years ago and has a brick or mortar stem wall, and the concrete that was used had a lot of cobbles in it, the strength of that foundation system is weak. So basically, the house is supported, jacked up, the entire foundation is removed, so all the old material, and we'd pour in a solid concrete footing and stem wall, and then lower the house back onto the new foundation.
Wow, and that's the most expensive one, right? Now,
Yeah.
under what circumstances? I've seen something like, or I don't know if this is true, but there's a neighborhood in Thousand Oaks, California, the Calle Tulipan area, that it looks like I think the builder didn't put rebar on there. Would that be a situation where the house would potentially need to be jacked up and maybe the entire foundation redone, or?
Well, it depends where he didn't put rebar. In the footing, there should definitely be rebar, and I would assume there is, unless the city inspection did not take place. But I'm going to assume it's in the footing, and rebar does not have to be in the slab itself. The slab is not a structural item. It's just holding up the furniture and like a live load of traffic of people going through. So I want to get more information where the rebar is missing on that.
Where the rebar is missing. Yeah, there's this, and I heard this from neighbors that I guess the builder wanted to save some sort of money, and after it passed inspection that he took out all the rebar, but it could be some sort of myth, or I've heard that a couple of times when dealing with properties in those particular neighborhoods.
I guess truth can be stranger than fiction, right?
So at least for Ventura County, are there certain areas that are more prone to foundation issues, like certain cities, certain demographics that would be more impacted by this?
Sure. Yes. You know, like I said before, so much of the foundation problems are soil related, and soil conditions change from one geographical location to another. So you're definitely going to have areas that tend to have more and less. And like along the coast, the homes that are built on sloping terrain or hillside will also tend to have more issues just due to the placement of like cut fill soils during the grading process. Okay. Now, specifically in that area, I can't at this time pinpoint for you where, but it's definitely soils related. And, you know, you may have an old city like Pasadena or some parts of LA that the foundations were built many years ago as substandard material that could start to fail. We do know in cities, let's say Fullerton, City of Orange, there's a lot of alluvium clay soil. So when that saturates, we have issues. So there definitely are spot problems, spot areas.
Perfect. And does it cost any money, like, for example, to get an inspection? What does that process look like? If someone has concerns that their home may have potential foundation issues, what does that process look like?
Sure. If a homeowner suspects an issue, no, there's no cost for the foundation inspection. And if needed, we can definitely supply a quote to repair, you know, whatever's needed. And during this inspection, our design specialist will educate the customer as to exactly what's happening to the foundation and why it's happening.
That's great. Okay, sounds good. And then I think that might be it. If someone is building, great. Now, the last question is, if someone's going to be building their new home for themselves, is there anything that they can do? Like, for example, if they know that they're building in an area where maybe is known, where the soil maybe isn't as strong, is there anything that they can do to maybe reinforce the property to prevent future foundation problems?
Yes, 100%. And the steps would be to hire a geotechnical firm to perform an in-depth study on the building site, see what kind of soils are present, and a soils boring should be complete to see what type of subsurface soils and conditions are below the site, such as soft, uncompacted soil down deep. And then the geotech firm will create a report, and in that report will give recommendations for a type of foundation and then the size of the foundation, because each type of soil has different bearing capacity, so the foundation size may need to be changed. Then I would really take these recommendations to heart. They should be followed by the design team, and I recommend that they implement a greater factor of safety than what's required by the city. And then once the house is built, also it's very important to maintain good drainage away from the home, as that will help the soils have a consistent property and not constantly changing.
That makes sense. Great. Would you say that it's less expensive to do it right from the beginning versus having to go back and fixing foundation problems, or?
It is 100% cheaper to do it right the first time.
Great, great. Sounds great. So Franz, I would like to say thank you on behalf of the Morales Group and the Jose Luiz Morales Show. This video was meant just to educate the consumer so that when they're purchasing a property, they're aware. Number one, they're aware that there are properties with foundation issues, and number two, if they have any concerns, they have a local contact, somebody that is out there doing good things in the community, and that they can reach out to them. So I think this video is going to help agents. It's going to help homeowners. It's going to help people that are in one way or another connected to the real estate market. So thank you for doing this.
Yes, you are welcome, and they're happy to give us a call. We can answer any questions, come out, take a look at their properties, and definitely help them with their decisions.
Last question. I think it's the most important one that I forgot. Where can people get a hold of you?
Well, naturally on our Facebook page. We also, our phone number, 1-800-922-2488, and also saberfoundations.com.
Sounds good. And if you guys have the opportunity, check out their website. They've got some pretty cool stuff as it relates to foundation problems. So Jose Luiz Morales with the Jose Luiz Morales Show. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And we look forward to continuing to educate people in regards to real estate matters. And yeah, thank you so much. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you too. You have a great service.